Hi, Joy Olson, BlockBuster Fundraising. Well, remember last week when we were reviewing the first 2 quarters of 2019 from the fundraising report? And the FEP report covers 20,000 nonprofit organizations and 176 million transactions. So this is not a fly-by-night report, and there were some key metrics that were down. In fact, there wasn't one fundraising metric that was up. So we said last week that we were going to come back with ideas on how to combat these metrics that are down. And I'm just going to remind you of how down they were. Overall fundraising revenue for the first 2 quarters of 2019 was down 7.3%. That's stunning. Secondly, the new donor retention rate is down 9.5%. And we all know as fundraisers that new donor retention is always down. To be down an additional 9.5%, that's not good. Okay, thirdly, from the report, the first 2 quarters of 2019, existing donor retention is down 8.8%. As a development director, if I saw my existing donor retention down 8.8%, I would be frightened. Okay, fourth metric from the report, the number of donors overall is down 5.8%. And fifthly, the fifth metric, the percentage of lapsed donors recaptured is down 1.1%. The good news is that was the best metric of all. So the report wondered if a lot of you haven't started a lapsed donor recapture program. Okay, so let's take a look now at some really expert suggestions on how to combat this donor retention problem that is really super significant. You've just got 1 quarter left here. So here are 6 suggestions on how to take your retention strategies right now to another level. And you want to make the giving experience for your donors a good one, especially if it's their first giving experience. You want to encourage your donors to speak up. You want to create a donor membership program and host stewardship events and offer volunteer options that target your donors' interests and skills, and share results with stories of success. Great stories. Okay, let's get started at looking at these strategies. Donor retention strategy number 1, make your donor's first giving experience a good one. Hey, a confusing or time-consuming first giving experience is one reason that donors leave nonprofits. What many nonprofits don't realize is that a donor's decision to leave a nonprofit can occur as soon as they've made that first donation. Wow, how discouraging. So, the donor's experience with the donation process can greatly affect whether or not they decide to donate again. If your donation process isn't an experience that donors want to repeat, hey, they're likely not going to return. Therefore, take the time now to optimize your donation page, making it easier for donors to give. So here are a few ways that you can improve your donation forms right now. Keep your donation form short and only ask the essentials to shorten the time that donors spend making a donation. Offer multiple channels for donating so that donors can pick the most convenient option for them. Don't require donors to set up an additional account because it adds one more additional step that not all donors want to complete. And I think that is really important. I really can't stand that when all of a sudden I've got to stop and set up an account. So don't do that. By improving your donation process, more donors are likely to complete the process, and those that do, hey, they're going to be more inclined to donate again. The key point here is donors are looking for a giving process that is simple and easy. So optimize your donation process to make it convenient and uncomplicated for your donor. Retention strategy number 2. Encourage your donors to speak up. When your nonprofit first started thinking about donor retention, you probably planned multiple ways that you would keep in touch with donors. But is there anything in your plan that lets your donors, encourages your donors to talk back? Well, give your donors a chance to speak so that they have an opportunity to voice any concerns, ideas, or suggestions they may have about your nonprofit. Not only will this make donors an integral part of your nonprofit, but you may also find some ideas or suggestions that you actually want to implement. When you let donors talk and then you listen to what they have to say, hey, they'll become more invested in your nonprofit because they're contributing in more ways than just a check, just financially. Well, here are some ways that you can get your donors to communicate with you. Surveys, advisory councils, feedback meetings, online discussion via social media. The important thing is to make sure that your engagement isn't just one-sided. For example, if your nonprofit sends out a survey about ways to improve your volunteer program, don't end the conversation after you've received their comments. Follow up after the survey to thank donors for completing it, and then let them know how you plan to use the information you gained. The key point is donors want to be heard. And the more you let them speak, the more invested they'll become in your nonprofit and stick around. Hey, donor retention strategy number 3. And you might not have time to do this in your last quarter. Maybe this will be something you want to put in your 2020 fundraising plan. Create a donor membership program. And if your nonprofit doesn't already have one, a membership program can be a fantastic addition to your donor retention plan, because a membership program offers incentives or special perks in exchange for their charitable contributions. So depending on how you structure your membership program, you might require donors to give a certain amount, donate an annual fee, or volunteer a certain amount of hours in order to become members. Not only can a membership program boost donor giving, especially for those just under the amount to join, but it also creates a group of people who are truly invested in your nonprofit mission. So as you create your membership program, your focus should be on building awareness, creating a community based around philanthropy and fundraising. Your membership also needs to include incentives to encourage donors to join. What type of incentives you decide to give will all depend on your nonprofit and on your donors. Ask your donors to see what they would like to receive as a member. Some of your membership incentives could include updates on your nonprofit before anyone else knows, shirts and other items like little baseball hats, keychains, bumper stickers, free parking, or early access to events. The key point is a donor membership program is a great way to build a community of like-minded individuals. Donor retention strategy number 4, host donor stewardship events. Hosting a stewardship event is just another way for nonprofits to acknowledge donors for their support. Events are great because they bring your nonprofit's loyal supporters into one place. You've got their attention. And in addition, a stewardship event gives your nonprofit a chance to interact with your donors in person. I can't tell you how these face-to-face conversations will help you get to know your donors. And that way, you can develop better, more relevant ways to communicate with them later on. You're going to know them. This kind of event you host will depend on your nonprofit's resources and the donors that you're trying to reach. Well, here are some ideas of the types of events that you can host. You can plan a lunch event for volunteers where you can acknowledge them for their time. An event like this will certainly going to boost morale and show your appreciation, which is really important. Appreciate those donors to the hilt. You can host a dinner with progress reports for major donors. Major donors can learn about how well projects are going and where their money is going, so they can really feel confident about how their donations are being used. They see the impact and they feel good about that. Create events for donors in your membership program. Members will appreciate that you're hosting an event just for them, and the event is another incentive to encourage other donors to join. The key point is nonprofits should host donor stewardship events because it brings donors together in an environment where you can interact with donors in person. That is of strategic importance. Donor retention strategy number 5. Offer volunteer options that target your donors' interests and skills. Asking donors to volunteer lets them interact with your organization, lets them see your mission in action, and to provide support in a different way. As volunteers work on projects or at fundraising events, they get to work firsthand with your staff and other supporters. And during the time they spend volunteering, donors will talk and share interests, building relationships that will further connect them to your nonprofit. And those connections will keep them sticking around. If a donor develops a bond, they're likely to stick to your nonprofit longer because they've gained friends and they've spent time working as a part of your nonprofit team. However, if you're already encouraging donors to volunteer, what are some other ways that you can make the experience more unique? Go beyond having donors volunteer in traditional roles and focus on offering ways that donors can contribute using their skills and interests. For example, if you know a donor who has a passion for photography, suggest to the donor that they should volunteer to take photos at one of your fundraising events so you'll have images to share on social media as well as future promotional materials. As a new volunteer, it's really easy to feel like a fish out of water. If you put donors in volunteering positions where they can use strengths, both you and the donor are going to benefit. The donor will be confident in their work, and you get the support of someone with the skills to complete the role. Another way you can get creative with volunteer offers is to put donors in roles that require more responsibility or where they're teaching others. For example, if your nonprofit helps students prepare for college with free tutoring service, bring in donors who are college students or recent grads for a panel discussion because they can bring valuable information to the students you serve, and they get to be leaders and mentors, which will definitely strengthen their ties to your cause. The key point here is while volunteering is a great way for donors to further engage with your nonprofit, give them ways to contribute that takes their unique experience and talents into account. They're going to feel much better about it, and they're going to stick around. You're going to retain these donors. All right, donor retention strategy number 6. Share results with stories of success. This strategy to improve your donor retention is to share results. Donors want to know that their contributions are making a difference. And the only way that nonprofits can do that is by sharing the results. And storytelling. Hey, storytelling is a fabulous tool to use when giving results because it taps into donors' emotions and they get a better sense of the outcome in return. That is so important. If you're writing a story or telling a story and you can't imagine the person listening, the donor listening to this story, and really emotionally getting involved with it, then you need a new story. You need to work on your storytelling because it's all about emotional involvement. By just stating facts or statistics, the information, it's confusing and it doesn't have as much impact as a true, personal, emotional story. For example, if your nonprofit helps rebuild homes for families in need, you can tell the story of one of the families that you helped, of course, as long as they give your permission. Keep in mind that your stories should focus on accomplishments that were made possible due to your donors' contributions. So it's not about complimenting your organization. It's not about saying, look what a great job we did. It's about sharing the impact of what your donors are doing. So the key point here is storytelling, emotional storytelling, is a great way to share results with your donors because it speaks to their emotions and it gives them a concrete idea of how your mission was accomplished. And you know what? It makes them feel really good about helping you accomplish that. Getting donors to stay invested in your nonprofit is about engaging them in creative ways. So make your interactions with donors from the very beginning ones that they're going to really enjoy. Let's talk a minute about lapsed donors because you really need to be going through your files right now this last quarter. Who's lapsed? Who isn't showing up? And lapsed donors are donors who have not donated to your organization within the last year. Some people will say 2 years, 3 years, but hey, if you've got donors that haven't shown up this year, think of them in terms of reaching out and bringing them back. You don't want to lose them. Donors who have not sent you a gift in over 3 years, hey, they're not lapsed donors. They're really former donors. And lapsed donors are so valuable. Unlike strangers, they have supported you before, and they believe in your mission. They believe in your mission enough to have sent you a gift or gifts. So here are some tips on writing an appeal letter that will win them back. Because right now, you want to reach out to those donors that you haven't heard from in nearly a year. In the fund development profession, the letter you write is often called a recovery letter or a recapture letter because it aims to recapture or recover donors who have lapsed. Okay, here's some big tips on those letters. Write to one person. You will likely not know why each donor has lapsed. Donors stop giving for a number of reasons. Some forget, some lose interest, some get distracted with the arrival of children or grandchildren. Others decide that they do not like your new executive director. Each donor is an individual, and the way to win each one back is to send a warm, sincere, personal letter from your heart to theirs. Say, "We miss you." What you are trying to communicate in your letter is that you miss the donor more than their donations, which should always be true. You have lost a supporter first and a source of support second. So write your letter in such a way that you show your concern for the person. So here are some lines to use that we've borrowed from Alan Sharp, and he knows a lot about writing great letters. "We miss you. We miss your morale support. And we miss your financial support. Hey, we sure have missed hearing from you this last year." Next, invite the donor to come back. Provide a tangible way for the donor to renew support. Ask for a gift for a particular project. Offer a subscription to your free newsletter. Do something to involve the donor and make them take action. Now, customize this appeal. Whenever possible, you've got to customize your recovery or recapture letter to the lapsed donors, and because you want to try to recapture and refer to the unique circumstance of each lapsed donor. For example, if you know from your database that a donor only sent a gift once a year at Christmas, mention that in your letter. Or if another donor supported only one area of your work, mention that. The more that your letter appeals to the interest of your donors, the more likely you are to recover them, because they're going to feel like you've paid attention and that you know them and that you appreciate them. Well, here's an example. The last time we heard from you, you had generously responded to the humanitarian crisis in Honduras. You sent us a gift that helped us meet the immediate needs of that emergency. Today, I'm writing to you because I think you can help us overcome another crisis. Next, match your language to the length of the lapse. Statistically speaking, the longer you've had to wait for a gift, the less likely you are to receive one. That means that you've got to segment your database into groups of 12 to 24 months and 34 months lapsed donors. And right now you're interested in maybe the 12 to 18 months for your last quarter. And you want to send each group a slightly different appeal. To a donor who is not given in a year, for example, you can say, "We miss you." To the donor who has not sent a gift in 3 years, you probably shouldn't be writing right now anyway. You've got other things to do. Maybe in 2 years you can say, "You've supported us in the past. Your gifts made a difference. I urge you to renew your commitment by sending a gift today. We miss you." Hey, the idea is to be casual with the new lapsed donors and progressively more vigorous with donors who have not given in, say, 2 years. And you know, the reason is we have this terminology as development directors, and a lot of donors don't think of themselves as lapsed. They think perhaps they've given in the last 12 months. They're surprised to know that they're lapsed. They felt like they were a donor in good standing. So you want to be gentle in your communication with when it's just been like, say, 12 months. Here's an example: 12-month lapsed. Your financial support in 2017 made a difference. Your gift at the end of the year will have a positive impact on the people, which in turn will lead to better health, hope, and confidence in humanity. The 24-month lapse, you might say something like, "Your financial support in recent years was a great help to us. Now, I'd like you to renew your support by joining me and the volunteers at," and you might have some project that you want to get them involved in. Okay, let's go on to another tip about this missive you're writing to a lapsed donor. Tailor your ask. Some of your lapsed donors will have given once and never again. Others will have given faithfully each month for years. Each donor demands a different letter. The more faithful your donor has been, the more that donor requires a personalized letter with a personalized ask amount. Don't ask a one-time donor and a 10-year supporter for the same amount, treating each one the same way. That's ridiculous. You could ask the one-time donor for a gift that's the same size as the last one, and you could ask the long-time supporter for a gift that's the same size as their smallest one, or their average gift over time, or their last one. Think it through. They're all special, and especially those people that have given to you consecutively over the years. Be really cognizant of gratitude and appreciation and winning them back. Win back their hearts and minds. Lapsed donors need to be persuaded again to support your mission. You'll need to restate your case for support and address any reasons that you know that donors might have stopped their support. And probably the two most important things to say in this missive, the recovery or recapture letter to your lapsed donors, are that you miss the donor and that their support made a big difference in the lives of the people that your organization serves. A carefully crafted appeal that lets past donors know they are important, appreciated, and missed almost always produces a net income. And an author, Stanley Weinstein, said this in the Complete Guide to Fundraising Management. So we'd like to thank Alan Sharp. As I mentioned before, he's a professional fundraising letter writer who helps nonprofits raise a lot of money and build relationships and retain those loyal donors using wonderful fundraising letters. All right, last tip here in regards to the Fundraising Effectiveness Project Report from the first 2 quarters of 2019. The tip here is considering the fact that overall fundraising revenue is down 7.3% in the first 2 quarters of 2019. Don't dismiss traditional fundraising. While online fundraising grows day by day, and it's important, more and more individuals seek information online, but don't be quick to dismiss traditional fundraising. The best results are usually seen when you combine traditional and modern fundraising techniques. And so let's touch base real quickly on the 3 most common techniques considered to be traditional. Direct mail. So important. It's just king, I think, still. And it's still very much used by nonprofits since it is really low cost and so effective. And it's particularly useful for local nonprofits. Additionally, your older donors, and we all have a lot of older donors, they're more likely to prefer direct mail than your younger donors. Although I've read a lot of reports recently that millennials really like direct mail. They like getting something in the mail. So if your nonprofit has an older donor pool, you're going to find direct mail highly effective. And then also your traditional fundraising, your events. Events have really served as effective fundraising tools for many years. They provide a venue by which donors and potential donors can personally interact and learn about your organization. I think they bring people closer to you. And actually, events can boost your online fundraising too, because donors are more likely to give if they can put names to faces. Okay, retention is down. 2019, down. Donors are not making another gift. Why do you think that is? Very possibly and probably it's that you don't satisfy them. because donor satisfaction begins with how you communicate. When donors make a first gift, it's often a token amount and largely a test. They really aren't sure of you yet, and they want to see what you'll do next. Will you tell them how much their gift meant to you? Will you show them what their contribution will specifically accomplish? Will you engage them moving forward, aside from just asking for another gift? Will you reassure them that they can trust you through transparent reporting? Will you inspire them to give more by telling compelling stories of success? Will you reward them and make them feel like good people, even heroes? If you don't satisfy donors, they made a good bet in investing in you. They're going to go elsewhere. So as soon as you received a gift, you should start to think about how to get the next one. Do you have a satisfaction-based next gift strategy? Once a donor gives, they inevitably wonder, well, what's in this for me next? So, when you've called lapsed donors to find out why they've failed to renew, usually the top reasons are this: no one thanked me. I wasn't really sure my gift made an impact. This wasn't what I expected would happen with my gift. I'm not really sure what you do. I'm not that connected to you, and I have other priorities. You know what? All of these reasons boil down to, I wasn't satisfied giving to you made sense for me. So when you don't satisfy donors that you'll add value to their lives, they're not going to remain loyal. You're not going to retain their donorship. Satisfaction is viewed as the consequence of a comparison between expectations and overall evaluations of delivered service quality. That's a mouthful. But in other words, people compare what they expected to get with what is actually delivered. They only experience satisfaction when their expectations are either met or surpassed. So, there you go. I hope you're inspired about retaining your donors, about getting to your lapsed donors quickly, get them back. Just really show your gratitude. Donors want you to see them so that they can see their best selves reflected in the mirror that you hold up to them. And if you don't hold up a "you're looking good" mirror, they're going to be looking elsewhere. So, Joy Olson here at BlockBuster Fundraising and joyolsongroup.com. More information. We're here to inspire you, give you tips from the top, and make your fundraising efforts just a little bit, maybe a whole lot more successful. We've got lots of free fundraising video tips on our YouTube channel. We're having mega fun with IGTV, so look for us there on Instagram. And we really hope that you are so excited about what you're going to do this final quarter of 2019. And we know you're going to achieve great success. So thanks for having been here today. We appreciate your time. We look forward to seeing you again Tuesdays at 1 p.m. We're alive.